How you doing, YouTube? Silver Joker here. I'm going to share with you guys my latest pickups here, some more vintage silver. And then we're going to talk about vintage silver a little bit. So if you're interested, stick around. All right, so we'll get right into this. I'll just say quickly that I got these airtights from my local coin seller. I was going down there to buy some. I needed some to put my silver in, and he had these out. I guess he was going to put some silver in them, and he ran out of silver before he ran out of airtight. So this is what he had left up there. Well, I actually had a few more than these, but this is all I needed for the silver that I bought. So he gave these to me free of charge. So there you go, another example of the perks you get from building a good relationship with your local coin seller. Okay, so we'll get right into this. So this is what I bought today, and we'll go through it individually. But I'm also going to talk to you guys about vintage silver. There's not a lot of information out there, and so I'm going to share with you guys some of the stuff I've discovered while collecting vintage silver. So we'll get right to it. So what is vintage silver? Well, I'll tell you right now, vintage silver is not the condition or how many is minted. It really refers to the year in which the silver was minted. So it's widely accepted that any privately minted silver that was produced prior to 1980 is considered vintage. And a lot of privately, and it only refers to like privately minted silver. We're not talking about coins produced by a government or anything like that. We're talking about just your privately minted silver bars and rounds. But for now, I'm going to be mainly talking about the silver bars. Silver rounds are a part of it too, but bars got a little bit more of the information out there. So I got a little bit more of that to share with you guys. So that's what I'll do. And here's a really nice constitutional. This is the USS Constitution. You guys familiar with that? Very nice little clipper ship with a little saying from the Constitution. So anyway, and there are two categories of vintage bars, which is what we're going to be talking about. Vintage bars. There's two categories. There's cast or the poured silver, like what you guys see the silver pourers doing on YouTube. You see them with the furnace and then the crucible and all that, and then they pour the bars and the different things that they do. So that's poured silver or cast silver. And then you got the pressed or art bars, which is mainly a lot of what you see now, or the pressed or the art bars. You really got the really neat art on top of them and that kind of stuff. And that's how they make the vanity bars. They make them for individuals. They leave the back. A lot of them, the backs are blank, so people can engrave them with whatever they want to engrave them with. But anyway, prior to the 1970s, most of the silver bars were poured or cast silver bars. It wasn't until the 70s that people really took an interest in the art bars, and you guys seen them. The themed bars, the Christmas, the holiday themed, like Easter, Christmas, Valentine's Day, that kind of thing. And then some of them have some really, really, really good artwork on them. So they became very collectible in the 70s. All the way through the 70s up to the 80s, they were highly collectible. And a lot of the little private mints sprang up to kind of take advantage of that, of the interest and people had in those art bars, poured or pressed bars. But in 1980, it's referred to as the Great Silver Melt. And what happened during that time is in January of 1980, silver skyrocketed. So it went from $16.38 in November of 1979 to $44, over $44 in January 1980. So it didn't matter how great you thought your art bars and pressed bars and poured bars that you had bought were. Nobody's going to resist $44 an ounce. So a lot of silver got sold. Now, who's buying this silver? Well, a lot of silver brokers were buying it, because you got to keep in mind that silver is used in industry. It's used in manufacturing. So it doesn't matter where the silver price goes. People, manufacturing companies like that, they got to have it. So these silver brokers and silver dealers, they were buying up as much silver as they could get their hands on, and they were selling it to industry, because nobody knew just how long this silver boom was going to last. So they were buying as much as they could, and they were selling it to industry. And what they were doing is, a lot of the silver brokers and the silver dealers, they didn't want to be bothered with trying to inventory a bunch of little art bars and these little cast bars that would come into them, and they would buy. People were selling. So what they did is, to save themselves a lot of trouble, they just melted them all down into kilo bars. And the kilos were selling somewhere around $1,400 a kilo. So they would just take all these bars, all these art bars, and sometimes rounds, a lot of the rounds too, and they would just melt them all down into kilo bars and sell them to industry who wanted to buy them, in bulk form. And so that's what happened to a lot of the silver during that time. They were just simply melted down. So for the next 2 years, man, silver was just melted down and destroyed, and sold to industry, which used it in their various products and what have you. So they became pretty rare, and it was estimated that roughly 10%, or a tenth of what was produced, silver bars that were produced between 1970 and 1980, roughly a tenth of those remain. The rest of them were just destroyed, melted down. So for 2 years, you had this great gluttony of silver, and people were selling their silver. Now, a few collectors out there realized the potential for holding on to some of these bars, and so a lot of them did. So, who knows how many is in the hands of like private or individuals that saved them. But there are not really that many of them left. So if you come across some silver bars that are dated prior to 1980, you might want to hold on to them or buy them if you can, because there's been a kind of an insurgence there's kind of been a surge in interest in vintage silver. I mean, if you go on eBay and go to some other place, you'll see, man, people they're just buying it up. Some people are selling it, but people are buying it. They're buying up these bars right here, these beige bars, and some of the other silver bars. I mean, Engelhard, they have their own little cult following almost. People are just buying up the Engelhard bars. Some of the Engelhard bars and Johnson Matthey bars are just, they're phenomenally priced. Because there's just not a lot of them, especially when you get into your vanity bars. The vanity bars are the ones that were made, like Engelhard would make vanity bars for their for certain individuals and companies, and they would only make a handful of those, because they would either give them out to their executives when they retired, or they would make them for some event or something like that they were having, some promotional thing, and they would only make a few of them. And those bars are just through the roof with price. Those are the rare ones. Form of silver bullion on the market. You can get them right around spot price for the most part, or just a little bit over. But that's what all these are. All these are vintage silver bars. They got a nice little premium on them, especially these ones that are. And if you go, you see Engelhardt's got there's a website where these collectors got together and they pooled all their knowledge about what they knew about Engelhardt. It's called allengelhardt.com. I talked about them in my last video, and they have a tier system, and the tier system, is based on rarity or how hard it is to find certain bars. And I'd say if you're going to start collecting Engelhardt bars, or really any kind of bar, you might want to do some research. But you really can't go wrong with these bars. With the vanity bars, like I said before, are probably the rarest, because they were just so few of them made. But I'll tell you, I'll give you an idea of you got your Engelhard, like I said, and Johnson Matthey, but you also got Bell and Associates, Golden Analytical, Mid-South Smelter, Tri-State Refining, Yardney Series, Circle City, and of course the these beige rounds. That's just to name a few. So I mean, you could go online and research some of these mints that are no longer minted. I mean, they've long since gone out of business, like back in the 70s and 80s. But their bars are still out there, a few of them. So you might want to educate yourself and study what mints produced what bars, and then just go for it, man. Collect them, and like I said, I mean, there's always been collectors out there who collected vintage silver, but there's just been like I said, a surge in the interest in vintage silver. So you might want to do yourself a favor, man, and just see if you can add some of these to your stack, man. They probably will only appreciate in value as more people seek them, more people get interested in them. The price is just going to go up. So anyway, I hope that helped you guys. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'm going to be making some other videos. I got some exciting things coming that I think you guys will be very interested in. And, I just appreciate you guys watching. So if you stick around, I'll go ahead and put this out like I always do, so you can see what it all looks like laid out, and then we'll go from there. All right, there you have it. Vintage silver. 13 more ounces to the stack today from our local coin seller, and some free airtights. Can't forget to mention those. And maybe you guys learned a little something. I mean, hopefully I shared something with you that you didn't know. If you knew it already, kudos to you. I didn't. There's not a lot of information out there about vintage silver, but I think that's going to change. I think more people are really starting to get interested in it, and maybe they'll share some of the things they know, and we can all learn together. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Keep stacking. Peace.